What up, what up, what up, world? It's your boy Shelvin.
Lady K.
True 102.
Man, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the segment. Carl, we missed you on last week, man. How was your week? How you been?
It's been busy. I've been moving.
Been moving on up, huh? You like the Jefferson. She moving on up, y'all. Man, that's what's up. That's what's up. True 102, how you been, man? It's been a few weeks for you, man.
A few weeks, man. I've been chilling, though. I'm feeling all right, though.
Yeah? Yeah, man.
Glad
What you
to
been
be
doing?
back.
Yeah, what you been doing, man? You been
tuning in, man, but trying to get stuff situated. You know how that go.
Yeah, I can dig that, man. I can dig that. Say, man, did y'all see that? We gonna get on topic. I just want to see. Did y'all see that Cowboy game last night?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, that move was off the chain.
Shout out to them Cowboys, man.
Shout out to them Cowboy haters, man. Without y'all, we wouldn't be where we are, who we are, man. Shout out to y'all. We really appreciate y'all hate, man. It's real out here. But yeah, man, shoot, man. We definitely want to get into this thing, man, and talk to our people on here, man. What's up, Dee? What's up, everybody who watching, man? We really appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Last week, man, I was on here trying to run through it, man. You know, we did our best. I did my best by myself. Hopefully, y'all tuned in, tapped in. I hope that you know, I was able to spit some knowledge, man, and hopefully put into consideration the bully hotline. I think that's a really important key to just helping the bullied feel, you know, a little bit safer and have some type of, you know, anonymous outlet where they can go and, you know, just express themselves to somebody, man. That was a really important topic to me. Though I never experienced bullying myself, I mean, I've had some people who tried to walk up on me, but I didn't have to deal with that. But, you know, I'm glad that, you know, it was just a good conversation to be had. We had a lot of people tuning in, tapping in, and they were really, you know, giving me great feedback on it, man, helping me get through that, man, because it was tough, man, being up there by myself. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all think it's tough being up here with us three, man. Y'all try that whole segment by yourself, man. It is something that you got to lead the whole way, man. But God was with me, man, and he helped me get through it, man, and y'all were just great, man. I really appreciate y'all. We really missed y'all here at the Chatterbox, man. I hope y'all missed us because we definitely missed y'all. Glad to have y'all back. What's up, Tima? You wasn't on here last week. I don't know if that's a personal thing, but we gonna talk about that off the air. I want you to make sure you tune in to the Chatterbox podcast every week. Every week. I ain't putting you out there, cuz I'm just playing. But I want y'all to tune in every week. We definitely want to get the conversation out there, right? Yeah. Please follow and share. Like, follow and share. You never know who may be in need of one of these conversations, who may be going through one of these conversations, and so we definitely want to have people, you know, just tap in, man, and join on with us. It's so important that people do that because we be talking about some stuff on here.
Yeah,
we be talking about some stuff. And so, I'm watching the camera. I'm watching. Look, my boy Calvin is up here playing the producer. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
He is the producer. This boy hands is flying everywhere. He talking about, look at the camera.
Don't look at the TV.
No, it's fine, man. It's fine. What I'm doing is I'm tapping in for people to, you know, I'm tagging people so they can join in. I can't tag people in at the same time. Look at the camera. So y'all, please excuse.
Yeah.
This whole time.
Oh, okay. Nah, we ain't trying to talk to the TV. We trying to talk to y'all. We trying to talk to each other. We trying to have a conversation, man. But yeah, man, it's just so good. Hey, Stephanie, how you doing? Glad to have y'all on here. Look, y'all make sure that y'all put in the comments, man. So we're gonna talk about something tonight, man. But we just want to know how y'all doing out there. Please put in the comments how y'all doing, man. We hope y'all doing well on this lovely Monday, man. I know it's a work Monday. Anybody suffering from that weekend fatigue? Oh, I guess ain't nobody.
Okay, is that what that was?
Yeah, that's weekend fatigue.
Okay.
Everybody a little tired today. You dragging on.
Because I was tired.
You was tired.
I was moving. I was doing.
Man, the Mondays be rough, though.
Yeah.
The Mondays be rough, man. I think they be rough. Hey, Deesh, what's up? Hey, Sandra. Hey, we got some people tapping in, man. I'm so glad y'all tapping in on tonight, man, because we're gonna be talking about a really, really sensitive topic tonight, and I really want y'all to, you know, comment, man, because, you know, it's one of those topics that you can never talk about it and be comfortable. But it's our obligation, it's our responsibility to make it an environment where you can at least not feel judged, right?
Yeah.
You can at least feel like you can talk about it and not feel like somebody's going to look down on you, feel like you know you're insignificant, or feel like you're lesser than who you truly are, because especially those who have experienced that. You know, I think a lot of people who've experienced what we're about to talk about feel like, you know, they're ashamed of what they went through.
Yeah.
But I just want to let you know, before I even give you the title of it, that don't be ashamed of something that you couldn't control. Absolutely. You had a certain limit of control of it, but truth be told, you didn't know you was walking into what you walked into. You know what I mean? And so we're going to be talking about, what we're going to be talking about today is, how close is it to your front door? And I named it this because I want you to understand that we are in the month of domestic violence awareness.
Yeah.
Right? And so we cannot escape. We cannot leave this month without being a chatterbox and not talking about this, right? Because we the chatterbox, we talk about the stuff that other people don't talk about. They don't want to talk about it because it's uncomfortable, you know, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
We don't worry about that on the chatterbox. We want to be a positive platform for the community. We want to be a voice to the voiceless. I say it every time we get on here because it's that important. It's that important to me. It's that important to you. It's that important to you. Everybody needs a voice, right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes no one wants to give them a voice, or they don't want to have a voice because, you know, it's a lot that ties into that, right? It's a lot it's a lot that stems from the source of domestic violence. A lot of reasons. It's not just because of this. Like you can't just pinpoint somebody experiences through life that makes them the way they are. Right. But we want to raise the awareness of domestic violence because, for one, you may be in a domestic violence situation and not even know you're there. You just may be in a domestic violence situation and not even know you're in it.
Yeah. Might not gotten accused.
Right.
Might have known what was what, how to recognize certain
How to
things.
recognize
It might have
it.
just been normal for you.
And that's why it's Awareness Month, right? We want to raise people awareness to realize that they're in a situation that really isn't, you know, normal. This isn't a normal situation. This isn't the story of your life. This isn't the way your life should be written. This isn't the end of you. And I want you to know that, because a lot of people feel like that this is this as good as it's gonna get.
Yep.
And that's a tough place to be.
Yeah.
Right? To feel like this is as good as my life could be is to be in a situation where I feel like every day I'm going to be abused in some way, form, or fashion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's not, and I mean, you know, maybe it's just me, but I don't feel like that should be put in a box. I don't feel like that should be hid from the public eye. These kinds of relationships, because they need to be exposed.
Right.
Yeah.
They need to be exposed. People need to know that this is not right.
Right.
Right. And yeah, it's gonna be some people who disagree. It's just normal, right, for people to just. It's weird, but hey, it is what it is. And honestly, I care, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I care that you disagree, because maybe you are one of the domestic violence offenders. But I also don't care that you don't disagree, because I ain't scared of you. You know, you ain't gonna shoot. Whatever, you know, whatever. And if you've been through a domestic violence situation, please put in the comments, man. Please put in the comments. I want y'all to, you know, we gonna have a conversation, and it may get uncomfortable, but I want you to know right now.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Because if we don't talk about it, then shoot, you're gonna still be stuck in there. Like, you're not gonna. Sometimes it takes a word from somebody who you don't know to provoke a move that you will never do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does. It provokes. I just want to provoke somebody. I want to excite you and ignite you on a day to say, you know what, enough is enough. Even if it's not you, maybe you know somebody who's in a domestic violence situation, and you feel like, and I know a lot of people feel like this, well, if I say something to them, it may mess up our friendship.
Yeah.
Well,
people do.
think about it like this. How important is your friendship compared to their safety?
Yeah.
Would you rather lose a friendship, or would you rather lose a friend?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just the question of the night. Would you rather lose a friendship, or would you rather lose a friend? Because at the end of the day, you go get the friendship back. No matter how long it may take, you'll get the friendship back. But if they end up a victim of, you know, the highest level of domestic violence, you won't get your friend back. And you'll be having to walk around with that resentment of, man, if I just would have
That
said
guilt.
something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we can't be at our church. This whole month, we have did a sermon series. Pastor Dixon has been so awesome this month. We will not be silent.
Yeah.
We will not be silent because it's time to stop being quiet about stuff like this. Yeah, we can be quiet about a few other things, but this kind of stuff, we just have to quit being silent. Man, did y'all check out them statistics? I want to read some statistics to y'all. Can I read some statistics to y'all? Do you know that on average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States? 20 people a minute. Do y'all not know that that's 1,200 people in this segment? 1,200 people in this hour that we're going to be conversating is going to be abused in some way, form, or fashion. 1,200. That's not a small number. That is a really, really high number.
Yeah.
And just think about it. That's just in an hour.
In an hour.
Just think about it in
You got
24
hours
in a
Yeah.
day.
in a day.
Right? And then you got
Exactly.
umpteen hours in a week.
Right.
And
so many
man,
in a
I
month
mean,
and a
like,
year,
this
yeah.
is something that is really, really present in the households of people in America. This is just America. This isn't even the statistics for the world.
10 million in America, an average.
That's crazy.
10 million.
That's crazy. And you know, I'm gonna pray for y'all, man. I'm gonna make sure I add that to my prayer list, man, that about this domestic violence stuff, because it is something that is plaguing the households of America every day.
Yeah.
1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence. That's a lot of people. And I did say 1 in 9 men too, so it's not a distinguishment, right? Men and women experience domestic violence. Men and women.
Yeah.
That means she'll hit you across your.
Yeah.
She will hit you across your head with some, bruh.
Yeah.
You.
Yes.
And it's funny, but at the
It's not
same,
funny, but it's
but it's
the way you
real.
keep saying it, yeah.
It's bruh,
real, though.
bruh, it's real. Like, man, I don't know. Man, they comment on the live, man. Let me jump in these comments real quick. I want to read the comment. Thank goodness I have not experienced this, but I know someone that has had verbal abuse. That is domestic violence.
Yeah.
Auntie Zandra, that is domestic violence. I don't want anybody to think that domestic violence is
Yeah,
just
no,
violence.
Yeah, it's
Just
not
a
less. It's just as mental, verbal,
Yeah.
physical, spiritual abuse. It's just as, if not more powerful, I feel like,
Right.
than physical abuse, because you can, as far as your physicality, your wounds heal.
Right.
You won't always have a black eye. Sometimes you may not even have bruises, but
Right.
the words that someone say to you, they last.
Mm-hmm.
And the type of impact they have on you on a spiritual level, if they are spiritually abusing you as well, that lasts longer. It takes a little
Right.
bit longer to recover from. And some people don't recover
Man.
from that. Some
Yeah.
people don't recover because a lot of people don't seek counseling. A lot
Right.
of people, because of shame, I feel ashamed. Because that's a moment where you are powerless, or you were made to feel powerless, like you couldn't do anything.
Right.
In my situation, there were a lot of things that occurred, but I feel like things got worse when it came to a point where there was, what I could do for myself was limited physically,
Right.
because I had to have surgery on my spine, and that's where things really went crazy.
So you talked about this before. So you were, and I just want the audience to know, you were a victim of domestic violence.
Yes.
Right.
So I don't like victim, but
Well, Victor.
Yeah.
Victor, you are a survivor
Yeah.
of domestic violence.
Yeah.
Right. You said something that was really, really important to me a while ago. You said you feel like the words are more powerful than the actual physical abuse.
yeah,
That reminded me of something that Pastor Jamal Bryant said on one of his sermons. He said that a lot of people, you end up getting, you don't die from the bite of the snake, but you die from the venom that the snake
Yeah.
leaves in you.
yeah,
So it's not the bite that kills you. It's what's, so some of us are walking around here with what the bite left in us, still worried about the bite. We trying to cover up the bite, but the bite left something in us that's killing us slowly. And the
Right.
only way you're going to be able to deal with the venom is to get the antidote.
Yeah.
That was powerful what you said. Words do cut deep. Xander say words do cut deep, and they do. And they do. So give us a little synopsis, a little bit of your experience with domestic violence.
Okay, so where do I start?
Wow.
Okay, so it wasn't just like anybody else's case. Things do not start off that way. It's always little small things that advance into something else,
Right.
And you may not recognize it because you may have dealt with little things from family and friends, and to you it was really just a small thing. You just naturally would just omit it. It didn't matter. You took
Right.
it very lightly. But with an abuser, they usually do small things first. It's just it's basically testing your boundaries.
Right.
So they'll do little small things. So it started out as like yelling out of nowhere. And then when I say, okay, I don't like that. Well, it didn't change.
Right.
It didn't change. It just happened further with more time in between. And then it went from that to starting arguments and then getting in my face. And then having to say, okay, I don't like that. Get out of my face. And it didn't happen every day. It would just, time would go by, and then something would happen. Then that's just, it would get more intense and more intense.
Right.
I feel like then I was just like, it's just a rough argument, just somebody but that was the small thing that I just kept ignoring. My boundaries were constantly being walked over.
Right.
And you think because you're saying something about it, that's enough to defend your boundaries. It's not. When you recognize that certain things are uncomfortable for you and it's not changing, that's the opportunity to leave.
Right.
I didn't leave, and most people don't because you are emotionally tied to that person.
Right.
So things got worse as they went on. It went from a constant discard, meaning like starting an argument and then disappearing for a couple of weeks.
Right.
And
So
then
you say
come
you were
back.
emotionally
Yeah.
tied to that person.
Yeah, you're emotionally tied to a person because this is somebody that I was in a relationship with.
And I think, let me just say this. I think a lot of people neglect reality for the relationship.
Yeah, or behind a need.
Right.
So and let me explain what that need is. A lot of times when you are emotionally fulfilled in a certain way, or you feel like you're being emotionally fulfilled, you don't want to lose that. It means more to you. And if you are a person that doesn't necessarily value your life, which that was my case, you when you feel like you're feeling loved, you just, I have to deal with this just a little bit. Okay, I can handle that. And you're not realizing that thing is going to get bigger. So in July, I had to have surgery on my spine, not related to any domestic issue. It's just I had a spinal disorder and it needed to be corrected. Well, I ended up on a walker for a little bit during recovery, which left me not to be able to do a lot of things for myself, like driving, basic stuff, driving, showering. I needed help with everything.
Right.
And so this person was in and out around that time period, but when he was there, he was just there for that. But that's when things advanced physically. So there was an instance when I took medicine then. Obviously, I had to take muscle relaxers and I had to take hydrocodone.
Right.
So this was one of those. Every time something significant was happening, he would disappear.
Right.
And then he'll call and be like, "You're cheating, you're cheating." It was like, it was crazy. And then watch me like stalking me or watching my social media or something like that. So on this particular night, he said he wanted something back, something that he gave me. And I wasn't going to give it back to him. And so he came into my apartment. When I opened the door, he came in. He took what he thought was what he gave me, which was some shoes. He took what he thought, but it was an empty bag. So, and this was a day where this is one of those times where we broke up. Because mind you, it was always when something significant was about to happen, that's when that would happen. And my friends took me to the beach. Well, not the beach, the lake. Right. We went to the lake, and they were there with me, cheer me up or whatever. So around like 9, he called and he was like, "Who are you at the lake with? Who are you at the lake with?" You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
Fast forward, I'm at his house. Me and a friend was at his house. I wanted to get my things from his house and get my medicine that he took. He took it from me. Not that he was going to take it. He just didn't want me to take my medicine. And if you just had spinal surgery, you need your medicine.
Right.
You're going to be in a lot of pain.
Right.
You will be in a lot of pain. So he snatched, I'm fast forwarding everything. So I was holding a body wash in my hand. I was on a walker. So when you have spinal surgery, your balance is easy to knock you off balance.
Right.
Very easy. So he snatched something out of my hand, the body wash, and I fell over. A lot of people, that's not a big deal, but it was purposely done. He didn't try to help me up. He walked over my body.
Really?
So it was done on purpose. And his mom was there, her boyfriend was there, my friend was there.
So what were you thinking when you were
In
laying
my
on
head,
the ground?
I was like, is this happening?
Wow.
Like, it didn't feel real. It's like, this is happening.
Because you was relating him to the him you met.
Yeah.
And then looking at the him he was.
Yeah. And so in my mind, I was like, you just knocked me over and stepped over me. Like, that still repeats in my head over and over again, because that was the first time it happened, not the last time it happened. And so I went to the doctor, because mind you, I just had spinal surgery a couple of weeks prior to that. So on July 19th, I go to the doctor. It was earlier than when I was supposed to come.
Right.
But my back was hurting.
Right.
So I go, they do exams just to make sure that my spine is still aligned. But whenever you go to a doctor and you come for your post-op and you come sooner than you are, they do a domestic, how do you say, a domestic interview.
Right.
So they'll ask you certain questions. And so the doctor asked me, he was like, so what happened? And I said, I fell. He said, are you being abused?
Right.
They ask you that question before you have surgery too.
Right.
I said no then.
Oh, wow.
And I told him no then, because in my mind I was like, this is going to get bigger than what I wanted to be. And I wasn't ready to leave the situation.
Wow.
So I didn't want to say that. And to admit that, I didn't want to, it's a pride thing as well. I didn't want to say that, yeah. So
let me ask you this. What would you say to women and men who are at that stage of their relationship right now? If they're in a domestic violence relationship, what do you say to them who's there right now? They're just now realizing, oh, man, this is a situation that I need to deal with, but I don't really know if I want to deal with it.
If you don't deal with it, it's going to deal with you.
My God.
If you don't understand that, if you don't deal with it, it is going to deal with you. It is going to get worse. It's going to get worse. There were instances where he said, well, like sometimes I'd be in the car with him because I can't drive.
Right.
So, but he would intentionally hit potholes and things like that. And he said out of his mouth, I'm trying to slow down your progress. I was healing too fast.
What?
Way too fast. And I want you to be dependent on me for the rest of your life, is what he said.
So he basically wanted to cripple you.
Yeah.
Disabled.
So it did happen again. I wanted to leave. I was leaving. I was like, he started getting the way he was, and I was like, I'm going to leave. So I started leaving. I started packing the bag to leave. And he snatched something from me. Once again, nobody was here this time. And the same thing happened, stepped over my body. And I went to the doctor again. So you go to the doctor again for something like that. And when they go you can lie, but it's not like your doctor can't see your x-rays
and
your MRIs. Every time you go, they do an MRI, they do an x-ray.
So they're seeing your abusive pattern.
And they're seeing that what I'm saying is not consistent with my fall.
Right.
If I said I fell and I fell like this, but the left side of my spine is what's showing there's an injury, that's an issue. And so they'll call the police. They'll make a report.
I know this is a tough question. And I mean, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but I want to ask you this question. What were your nights like after these instances?
I just replayed that a lot. I was already in a depressive mode anyway. But it was just like this, like a constant repeat. This is happening. This is happening. You're in this. And you can leave. I'll be like, Kyra, just leave. I'm like, I can't. Go.
You know, a lot of people would get suicidal in those kind of situations.
And I went through that. I went through that. I swallowed 25 pills.
Wow.
I went through that. So I understand where you are. For those of you who are watching, you are going through this. I understand where you are. But it only takes one moment to value yourself, to remove yourself,
Right.
and or just take a step back. And take a step back every day, even if it's just a little bit. And talking to somebody about it is important because you're not thinking logically.
Right.
You're not thinking logically. You are staying in something, and it's you that's holding yourself captive,
Wow.
emotionally,
Right.
and whatever other motives you feel like that's help making you maintain that, or not wanting to feel like the bad person. Or if you're somebody like me and you feel like, well, he has all these other problems, you think in some way that you can help that person.
Right.
You're being compassionate for somebody that has no compassion for you. The way that I was able to separate myself was not looking at that person like they were human. Like he
Right.
was a human being. You have to stop being compassionate, stop being certain things so that you are able to take a step back and
Right.
just realize what your reality is.
Right.
Nobody that loves you or cares for you is going to do that.
And I don't think it's not looking at them as they're a human being. I think it's actually looking at them for the human being they are. Like, you're a bad person.
Yeah, that part, but you have to dehumanize. Because
In order
as
to
long
get
as I
out.
saw him
As
as a human
human.
being, I was going to always be compassionate. I was
Right.
going to always be like, well, you just need a little more help, or you just need this,
Right.
or you just need that.
It was
And I
always
was
an
going to
excuse,
naturally
yeah.
take on that burden myself when
Wow.
it wasn't mine to take.
That's crazy. Listen, I just want to say this to the people that's listening. If you've ever been in a domestic violence situation, please comment. I want to know, maybe you don't even know that you were in a domestic violence situation. So a domestic violence situation, I just want to explain what it is real quick. A domestic violence situation is basically abuse. Abuse is not just physical. It can be mental. It can be spiritual. It can be emotional. Abuse is something, and it can be manipulative.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of times
Very
it's very
manipulative.
subtle. I was watching this show with my wife. It's called Maid, MAID. If you ever been in a domestic violence situation or want to see a good show about domestic violence, it is so powerful. So powerful. The woman on there said something that sticks with me to this day. I never forget this in my head. She said, first they'll chunk it by you. Then they'll chunk it at you.
Yeah.
So in other words, they just trying to see how you go react
Exactly.
to what they go do and to see if they can go
And
further.
are you going to stay?
Right.
Yeah.
Are you going to stand up for yourself? Are you going to stop it at the door? Or are you going to do what you need to do in order to keep you?
Yeah. And even standing up for yourself is not that doesn't stop anything. Separation stops things.
Right.
I hit him. That's standing up for myself. I told him he was doing something wrong, but I stayed.
Right.
And that's a weapon in itself.
Right.
You have to leave. You have to.
It's no other way around
You
that.
got to leave, because if you don't, it's going to get worse. And it wasn't just that. He used his kid. as
Tina Turner
manipulation
stayed for a
tools,
minute.
A lot of different things.
Then she got a hold of Ike in the back of that limo.
Yeah.
Shoes. Yeah, what's love got to do with it didn't make her leave. And she sung a good song, though. She was rolling. All that. She sung. But it wasn't until she got in the back of that limo that she realized, you know what?
Yeah.
This ain't for the quit.
Yeah.
He could have everything he want. Just leave the name.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it requires for you to just get out of there. Like, don't stay in that. It's not going to. Counseling may help you,
Help you
but it probably won't help them.
at all.
A lot of times it stems from, hold on, let me read what Rod said because they tapping in. She say, so often we think we can change people. People have to want to be someone different. Domestic violence is so real. So often we're in denial about situations for various reasons. And that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, maybe he had some mama issue. Maybe he had some daddy issues.
Yeah.
Maybe he watched his daddy beat up on his mama.
Yeah.
And watch his mama stay there as if, and she just, you know, how a lot of domestic violence mamas do. Baby, just go in the room. It's going to be all right. You know, she cuddled the situation instead of letting her son or her child know, because it's women who watch that too, little girls who watch that, and they feel like, well, and you know, the father say something crazy like, if I didn't love you, I wouldn't do this to you.
Yeah. Something like that.
What?
Parents period can say something.
Yeah, it remind me of when my mama used to say something like, "This gonna hurt me." Nah, it ain't the same stuff. But she did used to say that though. This gonna hurt me more than it hurt you. Yeah. No, it ain't. Oh, what you ain't crying now once, or you the BB? No, I'm just playing. Nah, but it's serious though. It's so serious because when kids grow up in those situations, they actually start conditioning themselves to think that's normal.
Yeah, and then you don't necessarily, you don't realize that you've done that either.
Right.
You saw it, you learned it, and it sat there in the back of your head.
Right.
It's dormant. I've witnessed a lot of things growing up within my household and outside my household.
Right.
And even though I got little snippets, it still registered to me. And it wasn't until I got into that situation where I was like, that you have to analyze yourself and kind of understand what your behaviors are. What are you doing to enable certain things? What's keeping you around? And then being in that situation just helped me to recognize other manners of abuse or aggression that I may have received from other people around me.
You start looking at everything that you went
because
through.
you don't need to happen again on any level. Not a friendship level, not a associate, not an employer, whatever.
So let me ask you this, because I don't want to just leave here with people just getting out of bad relationships and not actually getting to a place where they're actually coming into a good relationship with themselves. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I've watched you grow into a woman who loves her. And I mean, I admire that. I mean, that's the greatest thing a person could ever do is learn to love themselves, right? I think you should learn to love yourself, and this is just a little bit of advice. You should learn to love yourself before you get in relationships. Yeah. Please do that. Don't not love yourself or feel, insignificant within yourself and get in a relationship. You're just opening a door for somebody to mistreat you. Yeah. But what was your first steps toward, getting your you back, right?
Acknowledging the things that happen. A lot of times when people deal with trauma, they only acknowledge a little bit that they can handle. I can acknowledge this much, but never really taking in like the full picture. And you have to be accountable. So I made myself accountable for the things that I participated in. I made myself accountable, and I accepted what happened, and not just like I didn't just this happened and threw it in the back of the closet. I actually dealt with it. So that meant I was journaling, I was crying, I was going to counseling, I was doing all kinds of stuff and trying to figure out what part of me, where did that come from. A lot of stuff comes from what you allow. A lot of that stuff is your childhood trauma, which is why I always talk about that. You have to address your trauma child. You have to address that. And so piece by piece, that's how I started regaining myself. Okay, you went through this, but show yourself some compassion. Stop making it seem like this is your fault. Don't be a bully to yourself. If you make mistakes or you make errors, that's not, you're alive, you can correct that. So realize what you do, but realize that that's not final. It's not the end of you. You can improve it. You can become better.
And I think that's what a lot of people get caught up at. They start feeling like this is the best I could be. I can't be anything better than this, because if I could be anything better than this, then my father wouldn't have treated me like this, or my mother wouldn't have treated me like this. You start making excuses for other people treating you bad, as if you actually did something wrong.
You have control over the whole thing,
and you
lose
don't.
Control. It's okay to lose control.
Lose control. Now, not too much control. Don't lose too much control. Keep some composure.
You have absolute control over everything that happens to you. And find purpose in it.
And so,
that experience is not just my experience; it's 10 million people's experience in America. So
you're speaking for 10 million people.
10 million, and then that's just America. That's a whole nation. We have an entire world here. So talking about it, I feel like I'm not just talking for me.
Right.
It's somebody else that is not able to talk about it, or
Most
feel like they can't. It's somebody else. So,
So it's
I'll
proven.
speak for you for now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Somebody needs. We are voice to the voiceless. Is what we hear at the Chatterbox, man. Please like, follow, and share. Like, follow, and share. We here at the podcast just want to be a positive platform for the community. Like, follow, and share, please. Let me ask you this, because I know a lot of people that come out of those domestic violence situations go through this. PTSD.
Yeah,
How did you battle that?
man, I still deal with that.
You still deal with it?
I have to remind myself. So when it's easy to think of how I help myself is I think of it like an animal that's been abused.
Right.
When you approach an animal that's been abused,
They'll try to bite
you can
you.
make any move. That thing is going to try to attack you. It's going
Right.
to do whatever to defend itself because it cannot trust
Right.
anyone. That's how you have to realize that that's something that you're dealing with.
Right.
You can't help yourself if you can't acknowledge what it is.
Wow.
Why am I responding? Why do I act like this? So I have a lot of weapons everywhere. I've always had a lot of weapons. But now I have
Look how Twan looked at you.
Now I have
Nah, I'm
even more.
with it, you know what I'm saying?
But it's like,
I
but it's
understand.
like,
you know?
Twan look like you got one right there.
I
Shoot.
understand.
nothing on me right now. But it's like when something happens and I realize it's making me feel a certain way, I just recognize, okay, this is where this is stemming from.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I just, acknowledge, okay, this is why you feel this way. That's okay to feel this way. Like,
Right.
make yourself okay to feel a way, but understand that you don't have to react and respond a certain way. Understand
Right.
that every moment is not a moment to be on the offense.
Right.
And so that's how I handle it. And if I get to a point where I feel like I can't,
Mm-hmm.
I step back. I will step completely back because, like I said, I cannot allow anything to corner me.
Right.
Because nothing's left to do but to go through you, and I will go through you.
Yeah,
So-
you corner down. It's gonna come out biting. It's gonna come out fighting. So
Just take
that's
it.
powerful.
Be patient with yourself.
Be patient with
Patient
you.
is a process.
I think that's a lot of people's problems coming out of situations like this.
Traumatizing situation.
Not being patient enough to allow themselves to get past
Yeah.
what they went through, and because a lot of times I think that comes from being lonely, feeling like they're isolated instead of
Isolating.
elevating. They're isolated instead of elevating. Sometimes isolation it comes before elevation,
Yeah.
right? And I think a
Yeah.
lot of times we come out of isolation too fast before we actually start to elevate. But with that being said, coming out of the PTSD, fighting past all of those emotions and frustrations, how did you actually get to a point where you say, "I love me"?
When I made it in my mind that what I'm doing, this is how I defend myself. The problem was before was like, okay, you didn't defend yourself enough here. And that was always in the back of my head. That comes from being a child.
Boundaries.
When I was a kid, a bunch of things happened and I just never felt protected. I always protected myself. But in this case, I didn't care enough to protect myself.
Wow.
So it was just forgiving myself. Had to get there first.
Right.
Can't love yourself if you don't forgive yourself.
Ooh.
I had
Y'all
to
heard
get
that?
first.
You can't love yourself if you don't forgive yourself. Just in case people think that you can't forgive yourself, you can forgive yourself. As a matter of fact, you're the only one that haven't forgiven you. Everybody else done forgave you. They sleeping. They not even worried about what happened.
Right.
You're the only person that needs to forgive you. How do you forgive you? First, you acknowledge the fact that God already has. Then you realize that you're able to. A lot of times we don't feel like we're able to forgive ourselves. How do we
And
forgive
process
ourselves?
it. Like, let yourself feel all the feels. A lot of people do this. This is why I don't like. Everybody does it.
Uh-huh.
If they get into a situation, well, you know what? I got myself into this, so I just got to eat that. No,
No, that's
feel
not.
all the feels. You need
Right.
to feel that.
Right.
Feel all of it.
Right.
Feel all the upset. Feel all the sad.
Right.
Feel that, because if you don't, that exact feeling is going to keep you stuck in that
Yeah.
part.
Right.
And when somebody else starts going through something like that, or you see it somewhere else, now you are desensitized.
Right.
And now you are probably twice as judgmental because now you're judging what you see in them because it's you.
Right.
You haven't dealt with it yet. So everything is a process. You have to forgive yourself.
So first,
Another
forgiveness.
thing was picturing like me as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do now to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
doing little things like stuff that you love, all that a lot of people pour into other people a lot. And I just realized that I love people a lot. But I'm never coming back at myself that way.
Right.
Ever. I was like, why don't you give that to yourself? So I started giving myself what I give everybody else.
Take yourself out there.
Yeah. I started acknowledging me more, acknowledge my own presence instead of wanting other people to acknowledge me.
Right.
I started doing things that I liked as a kid. I'll go swing. I'll be swinging.
You have to go back through the process.
Like, just take yourself back,
right?
And don't feel ashamed. Just don't mind taking those small steps.
And I did that too.
Like, I can't do it. Why? I feel so silly. So what?
You feel silly.
But it's cool. It's okay. You're human. You're not supposed to be this. You're not gonna walk a straight line.
Right.
You're not supposed to be just this extra serious person anyway. Yeah. Allow yourself to be a human and enjoy it.
And it's okay not to be okay.
Ice cream, be like,
it's okay.
Exactly.
It's okay not to be okay
about something. Acknowledge that.
Yeah,
it is okay.
It's fine. It's fine. Not everybody's okay all of the time.
Exactly.
Let me read some of these comments because I want to make sure we have everybody in the conversation. Cornella says mental health is real. Mm-hmm. We have learned to address wrong issues that we face and start to make decisions immediately when it comes to violence in all forms. No excuses. Mm-hmm. She for real about that. Brand say the world is basically domestically violent.
Yeah, and in some ways it's encouraged. Like I said before, when we were laughing about a woman taking something to a man, everybody laughed at that.
Right.
And that's exactly what they do in the court system. When you say, this woman is abusing me, they look at the man like, how can you let this feeble creature, because you're supposed to be weak, abuse you?
Right.
And so that comes with another level of shame for a man. It's already shameful.
Right.
To feel powerless.
Yeah. Right. And you're a man.
Now you got somebody saying, well, you're a man, so how you let that happen? So now they're attacking.
Right. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Rod say, as a survivor of domestic violence, I had to learn that I allowed this because I didn't love me. Mm-hmm. Once I started loving me, I left. I had trauma to deal with. And it's an ugly process to deal with reclaiming you. And that's powerful. I heard somebody say, don't judge my drama if you don't know my trauma. Like, don't judge the way I am right now because you don't know where I came from. I could be a lot worse. Like, instead of telling you to get out my face, I could be going across your face, right? But don't judge I'm holding myself as best I can. Let me get me real quick. Then we can, don't judge me before you love me. Right. In other words, don't you judge me before you love me. Right. And so, it's just powerful. So Roz also says, it was a process for me to deal with PTSD coming out of domestic violence situations. The PTSD is actually one of the main things that a person goes through when coming out of domestic violence, because you're jumpy. You're distrust. That's PTSD. You don't even realize that you're actually dealing with PTSD until you actually step back and say, man, like you said, why am I, man, you
have to react like that.
You actually looking at people in the eyes of a victim. You're looking at people with the eyes of a victim. Right. It's hard to get to a place where you're looking at people in the eyes of a victor when you're suffering with PTSD at such a level. Yeah. And so we got to learn to deal with that. And we have to be understanding when people are going through.
And pace yourself.
Pace yourself.
It's not a competition.
Right.
Like, a lot of people are like, I got to hurry up and get over this. Or are they over it? You try to judge how everybody else is doing it and trying to see if you can do the same thing. Right. That's not how it works.
And I think domestic violence victims, victors, whichever one you are at the time, I think you can actually look at another person and say, man, they going through it.
Yeah. It's easy to recognize things when you dealt with it.
Right. Yeah. And so when that happens and you see people like that, what do you say to yourself? Like, what do you say? Do you say, man, I want to go over there and help them, but she with that person? I ain't trying to.
Well, depending on the situation, you just have to always let people know that there's a door open. Right. And I just want to show y'all a sign with your hands. When you go to a doctor or anywhere, police, when you do your hands like that, that means domestic violence.
Right.
And
do that one more time.
Police will take your hands. It's like A.
Put your thumb in.
Down.
Boom.
Yeah. Okay. That's a signal for domestic violence. So if you're with
I never knew that.
If you go to a doctor and it's a quick motion, they recognize that.
Right.
So that's just something. hope none of you abusers are watching.
So if the abusers are watching, I mean, at
That's
that point,
something that you recognize. It may not even. It may just look like you're just making a closed fist.
right?
But, they're trained to recognize things like that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point that out.
Man, that's powerful. I never known that. Y'all know the lingo now.
Gang
Boom. It's not a gang sign. it's a rescue me sign. Please listen. If y'all tune in, if y'all are tapped in, please like, follow, and share. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We definitely want people to be aware of domestic violence situations. If you're in a domestic violence situation, and I mean, hopefully you're not watching this show with the person who, you know, abusing you, or if you are, maybe y'all both are getting something out of this, where he's realizing or she's realizing that she's abusing you, and you're realizing that you're being abused.
Exactly.
Because it's not normal for you to feel lesser than, for you to feel unprotected, for you to feel like you're surviving in a relationship that you should be thriving in. When you feel like you're surviving in a relationship, that's a red flag.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody been chucking up these red flags all weekend. I know y'all been on Facebook.
Yeah,
Everybody been
I've
having
seen
red
it.
flags.
I don't know where they came from, but yeah, I was like, what is this?
When you feel like you're surviving in a relationship, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Understand that there's something wrong.
Or if you have to prepare.
Right.
You have to prepare yourself before you see the person.
Right.
You got to get yourself ready or revved up.
Right.
That's the reason.
Right.
Yeah, that's
because
the
you
reason.
feel like something just
getting ready
finna
to happen.
you
Yeah.
you on the offense. Hey, oh no, you tightening up and all that. And you got to realize that sometimes surviving is not just coming out alive. Right? Sometimes your body was just a casualty to the attack that was targeted toward your mind.
Right.
You got to realize that sometimes you coming out of it whole is different from you coming out of it alive.
Right.
You can come out of something alive and the attack of being succeeded because it affected your mind so much so that you can't even get past what you were going through.
Right.
And you got to realize that. We got to realize that this is not a normal thing, and it has to get better. We have to get to a place where this is not such a conversation where we have to have it at such a level.
Yeah, and then realize certain cues.
Right,
You
right.
in relationships. For example, there will be many times before anybody would be around, like before I was around his family or before I was around his friends, there was always this pep talk, and it'll be like, nobody here, it'll be a guilt-ridden thing. So it'll be, nobody here likes me, everybody wants me to fail, everybody blah, blah, blah. So that opens you up to be compassionate to whatever they're saying. Meanwhile, when you go into this room with these people, he's already also prepared, or she's already also prepared these people for
you.
your presence. And,
Right.
and he's or she has said things that probably weren't true to make them feel hostile towards you, or to make things difficult for you to communicate with. There's a
Right.
reason for that. Like, I'm gonna let them know this, so that's a form of manipulation. So
Right.
if you say something, it automatically it's not valid.
Right.
Or they won't validate it, or no one will do anything about certain things, because now he or she has like planted seeds of justification. They can go,
Right,
"Oh, what did you do?"
right.
Or what did you do, instead of somebody being able to see things for what it really is.
Right. And you got to get to a point to realize that you're worth more. You got to get to a point, and I think that's one of the first steps to realizing that you're in a bad and you got to get out, is realizing that you're worth more. You got to calculate your wealth, your worth.
'Cause even in that, anytime that would happen, and I'm like, okay, I started buying books on self-love. I love poetry, so I read myself poetry. I write myself poetry. Oh, he want this self-love stuff. Like,
Right.
that would aggravate him.
Right.
But it was something that I needed. So even through that, I had to keep making certain deposits in myself until I was able to release my hands.
Right.
And sometimes it's not overnight.
Right.
A lot of things aren't overnight, but that walk away is not usually a overnight
Is it?
thing.
Yeah.
It has
Take
to
a
be,
minute.
You have to have a final decision, and
Right.
you have to make that decision. Not your parents coming to rescue you, not
Right.
your friends, because you're going to go back.
Right.
It has to be a decision that you're making, and a conscious one.
Right. And I mean, I feel like anybody who abuses anybody in a relationship is, to me, a coward, a true coward. And I mean, if you're watching and you're an abuser, you're a coward. I just want you to know that. You can look me in my eyes. I'm telling you right now, you're a coward if you're an abuser. Period. Man or woman, you're a coward because, for one, an abuser doesn't want anybody to feel like they got the upper hand on them, and that's a coward to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't care if people feel like they got the upper hand on me. Because I know who I am. I'm secure in me. You know what I'm saying? A abuser, most of the time, they're insecure. Most of the time, they are full with this perspective on themselves that they'll never amount to anything other than what they are. Abuser. You know what I'm saying? They tend to feed off the energy of others. Like, they'll eat your energy up. You ever been around somebody and for some reason you just left from them, and for some reason you just tired, you just like, oh man, I'm exhausted. They feed off your energy because they're users and abusers. So they gonna feed off all your energy. I like leaving from people that make me feel like, man, I can go on another day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dog it. I got this. You know, I like leaving from them kind of people. I hate leaving from people when I feel like, God, dog it. I need to lay down. Bro, I'm so tired. This is crazy. Brand say domestic violence, so domestic, make you want to say damn, like Miss Payne off Martin. Nah, for real. It's so domestic because it's so close. Like, it's the easiest thing to hide,
Yeah.
and it's the hardest thing to get out of.
Yeah.
Because it's in the house.
Yeah.
How close is it to your front door? I mean, that is a question that we need to ask each and every individual that we see. I don't care what y'all say. When I'm talking to a couple, I'm going to just tell y'all, I look at the woman. Because ain't nothing go tell on a man like a woman. I don't care what you say. I'm going to look at her in her eyes. Yeah, I'm going to be talking to him at the same time, but I'm going to be looking at her like, yeah, man, how you doing? I'm going to be watching her, though. My Uncle LD taught me that. He said, man, you'll know how a husband is by the way his wife is. By the way she reacts, by the way she responds. If he's always talking over her, chances are he's trying to keep her quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That
If he's
is true. That's a fact.
You get what I'm saying?
That's a
He
fact.
taught me this because he taught me to look for signs in relationships that aren't right. Red flags, red flags. Everybody put your red flags up. It's been red flags all weekend. Don't stop the red flags now. Y'all keep the red flag, because domestic violence is a red flag. And when you see it, if you're able to, because sometimes you're not able to, you're going to have to fight that dude, you're going to put yourself in danger. But if you're able to, you know, sneak a little, you know, oh, okay, I'm trying to get you a doorway, give you a key, you know, do the sign. I got the sign down, cuz I'm glad you taught me that. I'm going to be looking for it. It's so important. And, I mean, we're about to end the segment, but listen, Twan, we haven't been able to say too much about this. I want to know your thoughts on domestic violence.
Me, I'm not for the domestic violence. I had family members who've been, you know, beaten, and I actually whooped one of the people for my peoples, and I've seen the effects on a person, and as well as the kids,
Right.
and it can have a bad toll on them mentally. And sometimes they find themselves acting out in the behaviors that the abuser
Right.
put
At
on
school.
them. Yeah.
Hey, out of school with it.
Right. So it's like, yeah, I'm not with it.
Right.
But I understand it though.
Right.
And I understand it's a serious topic. And
It's a sickness.
yeah.
It's a sickness. And we got to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's time to get help, man. It's time to stop accepting
like
this.
it's not there.
Right, right.
And yeah, like you
I don't
said,
even think
know
we're pretending
your-
like it's not there.
Or making it, what is it called when you make it into like this
It's a facade.
I don't know.
cute thing?
I don't know, but it's not cute. It's not. It's nothing to glorify. I don't care who you are. If you're in an abusive relationship, being in an abusive relationship includes the abuser and the abused.
Yeah.
That's domestic violence. In order to be in a domestic violence situation, there has to be a victim and there has to be somebody who's being abused. It's just no way to have domestic violence without it. And guess what? It happens in your house.
Yeah.
It's in your house. It's in your living room. It's in your kitchen. It's in your bathroom. It's in your bedroom. It's in your closet. There's nowhere to escape it. And guess what? If you don't say nothing, there's no way to tell.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no way to help you. We will not be silent. I want y'all to go and get on that. Listen, if y'all ain't did nothing in the faith church, if y'all ain't followed not one sermon in the faith church, please go and follow that sermon series. We will not be silent. It's going to bless you. People always want to make excuses about why they not in people's business.
Yeah.
They do, and I understand it. Like, you don't want to be in people's business, but at some point, you gonna have to realize that if you don't be that helpmate, if you don't be that person to step in and intercede for that victim, the blood's on you.
Yeah, and do it for the right purpose.
Do it for the right reasons.
Don't be
trying to get
into suggesting you have something to say,
right?
Or to give yourself some type of hype and like, well, I did this,
right?
Like,
do it because it's right.
Do it with compassion, because that deserves compassion.
Right, right. And I believe that everybody in an abusive relationship deserves a second chance, even the abuser. I know y'all probably like, well, now burn them up, cut a thing off, put rats. I know how people is. Y'all a little rough on people, but I believe that everybody deserves a second chance, because you don't know what that person went through to become that.
Yeah.
Because at some point in their life, they was abused. Yeah. I don't care what nobody say.
Yeah, most definitely, he did have a history of that.
Right, and it's
from parental figures. So
right.
But that's not a second chance you're supposed to give them.
No, I'm not talking about a second chance.
I know you, but I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, please clarify that.
I'm clarifying that's not a second chance that you are responsible for lending. That's a second chance that person needs to give themselves.
Oh, right. Brand, he says, but on a serious note, what examples do most have that are not domestically violent? Because some people, like y'all said, act on what they've seen or what want to be. Right. I understand that and I get it, but we're probably talking about the kids at this point, and when it comes to what examples do most have that are not domestically violent. A lot of times there are no examples, because when you're in a domestically violent situation, they don't allow you to see that.
Yeah, I can definitely give you some examples of what it is, and we all know what's healthy and what's not, what's right.
Right.
And this is just, when I was a kid, I went to my sister's godparents' house, and I was hungry. My mom would always pack us our little lunches or whatever, and we'd bring them. But I was hungry. I ate my lunch. You know, I was hungry.
Right.
And so, this lady she would lock. There was chains on. There was 2 refrigerators in the kitchen. There was chains on the refrigerators, and it also had, like, it was locked with a crowbar also. Dang. And so one of my sisters, god sisters, was like, "I'll get you something to eat." And I liked eggs back then, so she was boiling me 2 eggs and a weenie sandwich with some white bread.
Right. Dang, you remember the whole meal like that?
So, long story short, she was caught boiling me some food, and she was like, "Who is cooking?"
Right.
And long story short, the consequence for that was she threw the boiling water on her and beat her with the pot.
Dang!
That was the consequence.
Wow.
In my own home, my parents used to throw shoes at each other. You know, they was throwing it hard.
Right.
And so those little things, while they scare you, while you know that they're wrong, you process them and they stay in the back of your mind. It lays dormant. And when you get into situations like that, you think that that's the right way to respond.
Right.
And you justify it.
Right.
So something happens and you're like, well, this happened because of this.
Right.
Or maybe I shouldn't have said this.
Right.
You automatically start placing blame on yourself instead of placing it where it needs to be.
Right. On the person. Right. And that's a good example. And I think that, you know, that's a good example for domestically violent. I think he was asking for good examples of what's a healthy way.
Okay, so if you're having a disagreement, and maybe you are getting heated to a point where you just like, I want to hit you. This person saying whatever, I want to hit you. Step away. Yeah,
me and my wife tend to do that. If we get into a disagreement, and before we get to we'll say, nah, babe, let's put a tack in it.
Yeah, let's just,
you know, I love you. Let's go drink some Kool-Aid. Well, not Kool-Aid, because we don't drink Kool-Aid, but we'll drink some pineapple juice or some apple juice. We don't drink soda, so we'd probably drink some water or some tea or something. About you know, an hour later or something, you'd be like, man, you know what, that was stupid.
Yeah.
Just
give yourself time to reason. Step away.
Yeah.
And
my sons watch
don't
that.
Chase
They do.
the person.
My sons watch me. I watch how my sons act with their girlfriends, and this funny because they act just like me. And I be watching it. And I be like, bro, look at how he. That's what's up, man. I like that, man. That's all right, bro. You're a real gentleman. Keep being that. You know what I'm saying? Don't get mad and lose it. You know what I'm saying? They watch me get mad. I be like, man, if you ever get married, make sure you love her. Make sure you love her, Doc. Because if you don't love her, you might not act right, you know. But if you ever get married, make sure you love her. But listen, it's 8 o'clock, man. What are your closing remarks, Twan? Man, we'll go down the line real quick. What's your closing remarks?
I'll just say to the people, know your worth and know that you worth more, you know.
Right.
And there's always help. Don't be afraid to speak out and reach out.
Right.
And yeah.
That's good, bro. That's good. Know your worth. What you got, Kyra?
I would, if I can give any advice, it would just be to take that first step and just step away. You got to take the first step.
Right.
And do it. And have courage with that. And don't look at it as I'm losing something. Because you're gaining yourself. You're getting ready to gain yourself. It's not going to feel good. It will not be comfortable.
Right.
But you're worth that. So.
Wow. Y'all both talking about worth. And, man, listen, I'm so glad y'all tuned in, man. This has been a great show. I'm glad y'all were able to comment, man. Brand, dude, I got a love for you, man, because you're a very wise person. And everybody who commented, Miss Rise, Deisha, Zandra, Aunt Zandra, to me, I really love y'all, and I really appreciate y'all tuning in. Listen. Domestic violence is very, very present in a lot of homes. As we stated when we came on, 1,200 people since we started this segment have been abused in some way, form, or fashion, because 20 people a minute are being abused in America today. We have to get this thing. We have to get a grip on this thing, and the only way we're going to be able to do it is to raise awareness about it and let people know that this is not normal. And understand this: you may not know where you're going after the relationship, but just know that there is somewhere better.
Yeah.
There is somewhere better, and it may not be comfortable, but you gotta, like she said, take that first step. And sometimes that step is a step toward the right direction. I understand that we get comfortable in uncomfortable situations, and we would rather deal with this pain than to experience the unknown. But sometimes that unknown is the best thing that will ever happen to you in your life. And what you'll understand is your test will become a testimony, and you'll be able to reach back into that community, reach back into those households, reach back into those families, and pull out people who think that they're not worth anything.
Right.
And that is so valuable, just to have that. And I mean, that's enough to say, you know what, I can go to my grave now. Because I reached back and was able to pull somebody out of a situation that I know for a fact had them down. Right. I know for a fact had them broken. And it's okay not to be okay. It's all right not to be okay. But it's not okay to stay there.
Yeah.
Don't make being not okay a dwelling place. It should only be a hotel. Spend a night, maybe a week.
Live.
But don't you live there, because you're worth more than that. I don't care who you are, man or woman, you're worth more than that. And just because you experienced it in your past doesn't mean it was destined for your future.
Exactly.
I don't even feel like preaching today, but I'm about to go in now. But on a serious note, listen, raise domestic awareness, domestic violence awareness in America, please, because we have people who are dying, and they are very, very gifted people who are stuck in situations where they can't even operate in their gift. Right. And it's crazy. But we love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Listen, it's your boy Shelvin.
I forgot my name. Lady K.
Boy, True 102. Man.
Listen, man, we love y'all, man. Thank y'all for tapping in, man. Say, thank y'all for pulling by and chatting with us. Next week we'll be back, man. Say, Cap, you got that picture of the father? In the kids and stuff. Say, listen, I've been wanting to talk about this topic for so long. We will be talking about this topic on next week. Please tune in. We're gonna be calling this topic "What's Missing and Why." What's missing NY. Please wait for the picture, man. Let's go pop up on it. Listen, I want y'all to get y'all notes together because this is gonna be very, very important. What's missing NY? He's about to pull it up, man. But you look, we glad y'all came in. Deesh, thank you, man. Thank y'all for tapping in, man. This was very, very. Somebody put the red flags up. There it is, right there. That's the picture right there, man. Try and explain what really happened. 1960 it was like this. 2019 is like this. What's missing and why? Tap in next week. I want to know what y'all think about this picture, man. It's very, very important to me. Please tap in next week. Like, follow, and share. We out of here. Love y'all. Peace.